The time now, 18 minutes past 7. Now, 2 women who were sexually assaulted by their driving instructor have called for tighter regulation of the profession.
Phoebe and Morgan were both 17 when they were abused by Michael Florek, who was found guilty of sexually assaulting 5 of his pupils and later took his own life.
Well, both women are supporting a campaign for mandatory safeguarding training for instructors and the creation of an independent complaints body. Rachel Stonehouse has the details.
Phoebe and Morgan didn't know each other when they learnt to drive in Gloucestershire aged 17, but they both had the same instructor.
Upon meeting him at first, he seemed polite, he seemed like a normal guy in his 60s, and then very quickly he began touching me. So he touched me on the leg, he assaulted me multiple times during that first lesson.
I received sexual touching, he touched my breast. I just completely froze. I totally froze. I didn't know what to do.
Their instructor was given a suspended prison sentence and banned from the profession for 10 years. It took Phoebe and Morgan more than 5 years to report their experiences to the police.
I felt scared. I didn't know who to go to. I'd never been in contact with the police and I wasn't sure of how to come forward about it.
Phoebe and Morgan have waived their right to anonymity to help others and have been lobbying to improve safeguarding for pupils. They're also backing the Emergency Stop campaign, launched by FearFree, the Wiltshire-based domestic abuse and sexual violence charity. It started a petition for changes to the Sexual Offences Act, so that driving instructors are recognised as being in positions of trust, in the same way as some other professionals who have regular contact with under-18s.
We've had quite a few cases now of, young people that are being abused by their driving instructors. And I think that, it's really important that we take action because obviously more and more people are learning to drive. Parents want to make sure that their children are safe when they're learning to drive. So I think that it's something that really should be taken seriously.
The government's Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency told the BBC the safety of learner drivers is our top priority and the DVSA treats complaints extremely seriously. Pupils are encouraged to report all incidents of inappropriate conduct. As well as wanting to help protect other young learners, Phoebe and Morgan also feel they've come a long way too.
Coming back here is a reminder of where this all started for us, and I think we'd both be really, really proud of ourselves if we could see where we'd be now.
Rachel Stonehouse, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now by Carly Brookfield from the Driving Instructors Association. Good morning, Carly. Thank you for joining us. First of all, it's quite distressing hearing the experience of Phoebe and Morgan. What's your reaction when you hear of experiences like that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to commend Phoebe and Morgan for having the bravery to come forward on this issue. It's really important if people do feel uncomfortable in the driver training context at any point and they feel their safety has been compromised, they should report that to people like the Driving and Vehicle Standards Agency, which is the regulator of all driving instructors.
So that's if any incident happens. But what about before then? Because there'll be lots of people watching this who are either learning to drive themselves or have children who'll be learning to drive who will wonder, how do you prevent this? So what can people do to make sure they're safe?
Well, first of all, make sure that you're using an approved driving instructor. Now, that might sound a surprising thing to say because everybody assumes that they are, but we do have a mandatory system of regulated and licensed professionals in the UK teaching people how to learn to drive, and those are called ADIs, approved driving instructor. So the very first step in any learning to drive journey is to ensure that the person who is offering to teach you is actually on the register of those approved driving instructors. And that can be done by visiting the DVSA.gov.uk website and using the Find Your Nearest Instructor search. You can also look at things like, has your instructor undertaken any safeguarding training? Now, it's not mandatory for the sector, and I do support the campaign to bring about mandatory safeguarding training. We were the first ones to raise the issue in the industry that this was a requirement. But ask them if they engage in any level of safeguarding training. That should give you some security around that person's investment in time in making you feel safe as well. But checking in the first case they are a proper instructor is really, really important.
And is there a vetting process then for those that are approved?
Yes, there is. So an approved driving instructor will go through a 3-part training program and 3 assessments to become an instructor. There'll also be DBS checked, criminal records checks, people used to know it as. And that check will actually not just take place when they're qualifying as an instructor, they'll also have to undergo that DBS check every 4 years as well.
And there are calls, of course, to have driving instructors classed as working in positions of trust. By that we mean, similar to people who are working as teachers or sports coaches. It's a bit surprising, isn't it, that that's not already the case? I mean, you are there in a vehicle with no one else in that car with you other than that instructor. So why has that not already been put in place?
It is actually shocking. When I first came into the sector in 2012, I noticed this was a gap in the provision and started lobbying and campaigning on behalf of the IA and on behalf of professional instructors and pupils. A professional will have no problem being scrutinised for their professional standards and their safeguard. A professional will have no problem in engaging in safeguarding training if there is a gap. I do believe that safeguarding training should be incorporated into the approved driving instructor qualification now and bring it into line with other professions. In Scotland, approved driving instructors already are under additional scrutiny because they're part of the Protected Vulnerable Groups register. So they have to be on the same register as well as being a DBS register, they have to be on the same register as teaching professionals as well. And it's important to note, however, that FearFree is corporate and independent regulator. There is already a regulator to give people comfort on these issues. Driving instructors are scrutinised. They are held to task. There is a code of practice. There is a regulatory framework that if an instructor is guilty of some level of misconduct, they will be thoroughly investigated. DVSA have the same powers as the police to do that investigation, and they will be removed from the licensing register, and also the police can investigate that issue as well. So I don't want people to feel panicked that this is something that will not be regulated in any way or scrutinised.
Carly, thank you for your time this morning. Good to speak to you. And just to say that a spokesperson for the DVSA said that the safety of learner drivers is a priority and they treat complaints extremely seriously, and that registered instructors are expected to follow a strict code of practice, which is what Carly mentioned there, and that pupils are encouraged to report all incidents of inappropriate conduct.